continues to be critical. We'll keep getting all the latest on that story. I want to shift focus now to the big political story that we are tracking and debating on To The Point. What's the memory that most of our viewers have of the lockdown? Many would suggest March. One would think that it's been a trajectory of 6 months, February to July. Well, today it became highly political because Rahul Gandhi started it by issuing a calendar, an event calendar for the BJP on what BJP did during the COVID crisis, mapping event-wise what Rahul Gandhi thought or what the Congress's claim was from February all the way to July. The BJP lost no time. The Environment Minister responded. Prakash Javadekar gave out his own calendar on what the Congress did between February to July. Where does that leave the citizens? We leave our viewers to answer, but this is how it unfolded. Politics in the time of coronavirus. From rallies to press conferences to now an all-out Twitter war. The quickest to adapt to the COVID world, the theatre of Indian politics, now playing out on a phone, on your Twitter feed. The latest Twitter political duel, a war of calendars. Rahul Gandhi took to the social media platform, publishing his take on the government's event calendar during coronavirus. The Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar was quick to retort, publishing his version of the Gandhi and the Congress COVID calendar, each recounting what they thought the other accomplished month on month, starting February 2020. The first to go was Rahul Gandhi. As per him, when India was entering the pandemic theatre in February, the government was welcoming Donald Trump. In March, toppling the Madhya Pradesh government. In April, the government lit candles. In May, celebrated the 6th year anniversary of the government. In June, held a virtual rally in poll-bound Bihar. In July, tried to destabilize the Rajasthan government. Ending with a jibe stressing on the self-reliance slogan raised by the Prime Minister, stating the reason why India is self-reliant during the COVID crisis. BJP's Prakash Javadekar was quick to respond by tweeting out the Gandhis and Congress calendar since February. In February, the Congress backed Shaheen Bagh, which led to Delhi riots. In March, the Congress lost MP and Jyotiraditya Scindia. In April, Congress instigated migrant workers. In May, the Congress celebrated the 6th anniversary of its historic electoral loss. In June, the Congress defended China. In July, the Congress standing at virtual collapse in Rajasthan.
राहुल गांधी रोज ट्वीट कर रहे हैं। मुझे लगता है कांग्रेस पार्टी अब केवल ट्वीट की पार्टी बनकर रह जाएगी, क्योंकि जनता में काम नहीं, एक के बाद एक राज्य गंवा रहे हैं। और इसलिए हताश निराश पार्टी सरकार पर कुछ भी प्रहार करने की चेष्टा कर रही है, वो सफल नहीं होंगे।
जावडेकर साहब, आप इतना प्रदूषण पॉलिटिक्स में क्यों लाते हो? आप तो एनवायरनमेंट मिनिस्टर हो, आपको तो प्रदूषण खत्म करना चाहिए। देश के सामने बड़े संकट आए हुए हैं आज के दिन, और मैं समझता हूं आपको उन संकटों का सामना करना चाहिए, ना कि राहुल जी के ऊपर कोई टिप्पणी करनी चाहिए।
From February to July. In July, the event marked in both calendars is Rajasthan. What is to note is what happens when the page turns to August. Will the calendar entry be of Congress losing Rajasthan or BJP gaining another Congress state? The page yet to be filled in. However, what is to note is that this political slugfest continues in Rajasthan while the COVID graph keeps rising in the state, not keeping any calendar date. Bureau Report, India Today. Also, viewers, quickly getting you up to speed on what's developed after this calendar war. The Congress has stepped it up. The attack on Prime Minister Modi and the BJP, multiple tweets right now attacking the government. Congress has tweeted that Rahul continuously warned the BJP about the pandemic, but the party was busy toppling elected governments and welcoming President Trump all the way back in February. All of that is happening as we speak. Multiple tweets coming in from the Congress handle elucidating on the event calendar as published, if I could say it, by Rahul Gandhi. I want to now quickly cut across to our political debate this evening. I have Aman Sinha joining us in just about a minute. I have Shama Mohammed, spokesperson, Congress. Aman Sinha of the BJP would be joining us. Shama, there clearly seems to be a concerted attempt by the Congress to corner the government, mapping it out from February all the way to July, pretty much when the COVID crisis began in this country.
Let me start by Rahulji's tweet on February 12th. This is his tweet. The coronavirus is an extremely serious threat to our people and our economy. My sense is that the government is not taking this threat seriously. Timely action is critical. Now, that was our first case was on January 30th, and this was on February 12th. At this point of time, Mr. Modi was celebrating Namaste Trump, completely forgetting that we need to do something about it. Then in March, his tweet was, there are moments, this is again on March 3rd, Rahulji's tweet, there are moments in the life of every nation when its leaders are tested. A true leader would be completely focused on averting the massive crisis about to be unleashed by the virus on India and its economy. Again, Rahulji focuses on the people and its economy. And what was Mr. Modi doing? Mr. Modi and his people were subverting mandate in Rajasthan, in Madhya Pradesh by horse trading. That's what they were doing. Instead of going in for a lockdown early on, Mr. Modi waited because the government in Madhya Pradesh fell on March 20th, and we went in for a lockdown on the 24th. That too, people were given 4 hours. Can you imagine 4 hours to go in for a lockdown? People didn't know what to do. And of course, we had these migrant laborers who are daily wagers who get money on everyday basis. Then in May, 6 years of Modi government, they were celebrating when migrant laborers were walking back home, dying. Many of them died. You know what happened. You have covered it. Many of them dying of starvations in places they weren't getting enough food. They wanted to go back. They had to do it immediately. You know, when the lockdown happened in March, at least then within 10 days, they should have started moving the laborers back home so the virus does not also spread. You know, that is what is. But the Modi government was more interested in celebrating themselves and fighting against the Congress party, because toppling the Congress government. In June, they were doing the Bihar rally where 75,000 LEDs were bought and distributed there, 75,000, but not a single penny went to the laborers, not a single penny to take them back to their destination, not a single penny in direct benefit transfer to these people, nothing for the MSMEs, nothing. But they were more interested in doing this rally. And at the same time, what happened? Our army was stabbed at the back by the Chinese. The Chinese has got into Indian territory, and Mr. Modi agrees with the Chinese that there has been no incursions. So this was basically defeating the army by the Bharatiya Janata Party. So this is what happened in June, and in July is what we're seeing again. We are not fighting. They are not fighting against COVID, but again fighting against the Congress government. Mandate of the people. They want to remove the Congress government from Rajasthan, just like they did from Madhya Pradesh, subverting the mandate of the people. So that is what the Bharatiya Janata Party wants to do. They are not focused on COVID. They just want to topple governments in this time. And that is what they're doing right now.
You know, Shama, you know, just talking about Rajasthan, because that was your last point, as we just wait for Aman Sinha to come in. The BJP says it's not the BJP's doing, it's your own former deputy CM's doing. So Sachin Pilot wants to bring down your government, not the BJP is what they say. I just want to also put across the point with what the government spokesperson has come out and stated, saying that Rahul Gandhi, by virtually elucidating this event calendar for the government, has elucidated how he has no respect for the COVID fight and the people fighting on the front line of this.
You see, Mr. Gandhi is the one who did started this and been telling from the beginning. If I've told you 2 of his tweets, he's been coming out and speaking, saying that we need to do something about it, about the economy, about the virus. Look at it. Let me tell you another thing. They have formed the GOM, which met in February when there were just 3 cases. They met 2 times. In March, when there were 1,251 cases, this is headed by Dr. Harshvardhan. They met 7 times. In April, when there were 21,700 cases, they met 3 times. And in May, when there were 81,000 cases, they met 2 times. I mean, this says it all. And their last meeting was on 11th June. After that, nothing. Did you see the Prime Minister coming out? You saw the initial way. Now we have reached 11 lakh cases. We have had 48,000 increase in cases per day. I mean, from yesterday onwards, 48,000 cases. We have had more than 25,000 deaths. What is the government of India doing about it? Are we testing more? You know that we are having only 9,000
Shama,
tests
would you stay with me? I want to just bring in, I have Aman Sinha in the debate now. Aman Sinha, Shama, while you were getting through, has elucidated how possibly Rahul Gandhi from February kept warning the government through a series of tweets, saying that this needs to be taken seriously, and elucidating how each event, when the Congress won the government was doing something else, starting with February, welcoming Donald Trump. And we'll go month by month, because that is what the charge has been from either side.
Preeti, I'll first come to the macro picture as far as COVID situation is concerned. Now, we have to bear in mind that today the country which has the lowest infection rate anywhere in the world, if you consider the entire population, it is India. If there is a country which has the lowest mortality rate, it is India. A country which has 2 candidates for indigenous vaccines, which are on first and second stage of trial, it is India. And entire country, Preeti, is unitedly fighting this battle against Corona. But it is appalling to see, because my video could not get connected, I'm sorry somehow, unfortunately, but I could hear. And the best case of Congress party and Mr. Rahul Gandhi is that they have been issuing tweets in this fight against Corona. This is appalling. This is the contribution of the leader of the opposition party in India. It is appalling to see, Preeti, that on one hand, all of us, people like you, are COVID warriors in media. They are all unitedly fighting this battle. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi is just tweeting. And Congress spokespersons have nothing better to say apart from reading his tweets. And let me also say, Preeti, that as far as COVID situation, I gave you the macro numbers. But that apart, BJP itself has distributed more than 25 crore, about 25 crore, ration kits and other food packets. We have distributed crores of face covers. Our each and every volunteer has been working on ground. Number of them have got infected also. And but still, our work goes on. And look at the appalling response of the Congress party. They are just busy reading out their tweets. Can they tell me one gesture, one good deed that Mr. Rahul Gandhi has done, apart from his photo ops and tweeting in this fight against Corona? Each and every one of us, Preeti, you can recount several of them. I can personally say several of them. I was also there on ground, and a large number of crores and crores of BJP Karyakartas were there. And look at the appalling response of the Congress party. They just get up in morning and start criticizing left, right and center instead of contributing something constructively.
Okay, Mr. Sinha, you've given the macro picture. Let's get down to the micro. I'll come to you, Shama, if you give me a minute. Right? Let's get down to the micro and let's go step by step. February, charges made and counter charge. Charge made by the Congress, let's call it Congress, not Rahul Gandhi here, that alarm bells were ringing while the government was welcoming Trump with a grand procession in Gujarat. The counter charge, of course, Shama, I'll come to you later, but respond, Mr. Sinha.
Preeti, I'll tell you that the government response started from the very day WHO raised a red flag on this, even before it was declared a global pandemic. On 7th of January, there was a caution with respect to this. On 8th of January, we had a core group constituted and we had a first meeting of that. large number of measures were taken before several other countries could take measures, even including travel restrictions, etc. When we were not even 500 cases, a full lockdown has been imposed in the country. Certainly everything has to go on, Preeti, and it is, I do not think it should be anybody's case that if Corona has come, then everything should come to a grinding halt.
Okay.
So things have to go on, and there are large number of things which are required to be done. You saw the
all right, so Shama Mohammed, one can't stop at the cost of the other, but the charge of the BJP has been in February. What was the Congress doing? Instigating a Shaheen Bagh, which as per them led to the Delhi riots.
We know who instigated the Shaheen Bagh. It is the RSS along with the Bharatiya Janata Party. And their members are there. Kapil Mishra, they were all on like, listen,
let's go one by one. Mrs. Sinha, let's accord the privilege to each other. She did that to you, you do it for her.
I don't.
Yes, Shama, make your point. I'll go back to Mr. Sinha.
I don't want to participate in a debate when he keeps interrupting. I did not interrupt. He keeps saying that what did the Congress do? Now, we are the principal opposition party. We are not in government. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi has been coming out and saying he's met the migrant laborers. You have seen it yourself. Yeah. Also, what Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi had said has been taken in by the government of the Bharatiya Janata Party to give food, free food for all the people. And that is what we've been telling for a long time for the poorest of poor. Please give them free food and direct benefit transfer. So that at least the government of India has listened. See, our job is to see where you're not doing the work and then call on it. We can't do the work because we are not in the government. And also, Preeti, very important point. He keeps saying that we started everything very early. My question is, why was the lockdown announced so late if it started so early? The lockdown should have been announced much before in March when we knew things were happening. Before
that brings me to the second point. Shama, you've led to the second point, and I want to go to Aman Sinha. I know the point you're making.
No, one last point. I want to ask Aman Sinha one question. Why we are the only country in the world after the lockdown, the cases have massively gone up. I want to ask him why.
I want to go to Aman Sinha. Aman Sinha, if you remember, there was a fair amount of criticism which came in during March that the reason why the lockdown wasn't announced was because the government was trying very hard to bring down and succeeded the Madhya Pradesh government.
First of all, let me say, Preeti, that Congress spokespersons are in habit of making wild, baseless allegations. And I believe they are inspired by their leader, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who had to go and apologize in court for making false, derogatory and completely falsehoods on several occasions. Let me put a caveat to Ms. Shama Mohammed that she should behave like a responsible Congress spokesperson and not make baseless allegations, at least not before me and not to me. Because if anybody takes them to court of law, they will be caught wanting, just like Mr. Rahul Gandhi was. Anyway, Preeti, as far as coming to, other allegations which the lady
trying
was
to
making,
bring down a government in Madhya Pradesh during March when the lockdown should have possibly been announced. The parliament was still in session while COVID cases were rising.
No, that is right. That is right. I was responding to that only. Now, as far as you have seen what has happened to the Congress party, Preeti, and you have been covering, you have been an eminent journalist for about past 2 decades. The Congress party is collapsing like house of cards. They cannot keep their house in order. BJP is not responsible for keeping Congress party's house in order. And it is up to them now. If they make any allegations, let me assure you, Preeti, that they have made all such allegations before court of law. Okay. It has been examined and everything has been rejected also. Okay. Now that apart, Preeti, may I just complete?
Yes, please, Mr. Sinha, complete.
And that apart, Preeti, I do not know what kind of, the self-contradiction and hypocrisy that Congress party practices. You would recall, Preeti, that when the lockdown was put in March, there were large number of Congress leaders who were questioning why lockdown has been put in. Now they are coming and making a different tune. Okay. Even today, even Preeti, during the course of past 2 months, you would have seen several Congress leaders contradicting themselves. Okay, the difficulty is that
I will come to you once again. Okay, Shama, I want to ask you, there's a point that has been made. Yes, there was, possibly a question could have been raised in March why the parliament was still in session when COVID cases were rising. Why wasn't a lockdown, if needed, was announced earlier? Was there a knee-jerk reaction or a reaction to save to carry on with what was happening in Madhya Pradesh. My question to you, Shama, is today what's happening in Rajasthan? You have your MLAs still locked up right now at the Fairmont Hotel, where they need to be in their constituencies. Who is governing in Rajasthan? I would just want to give you some of the figures. The last 1 week has seen a huge spike in just figures of COVID-19 positive in the state of Rajasthan. So when you're going to accuse the other, what about your own government in Rajasthan?
Okay, let me ask you one thing. Let me ask him also the same thing. Why is Mr. Shekhawat not coming out and giving his voice sample? If it's not his voice, he's saying it is not his voice. If he is innocent, come out and give the voice sample. He does not want to give the voice sample because they have been doing horse trading. That's what he says, baseless allegations. Of course, they're not baseless allegations. We got Mr. Shekhawat's voice. He's not giving his voice sample. On what basis? If a man is innocent, he should come out and give his voice sample. You are so busy that you even, 20 of our soldiers got martyred because you're so busy with toppling governments, fighting against your enemy is the Congress party and not COVID, and that's what happened. And also the Prime Minister.
I need to close the show because it just seems that
please allow me to respond.
I have to close the show, Mr. Sinha. Mr. Sinha.
Mr. Shekhawat,
go and put it before court of law, not a word before court of law.
You tell me.
And how can you file a FIR?
Mr. Shekhawat come out.
You are
Okay,
completely
ultimately I need to close the show. There've been all right. Okay, nobody's seeming to be taking questions in all of this. They have one calendar for the other. The BJP has one for the Congress has one for the BJP. Where does that leave the citizen of this country? The citizen of this country needs to be a little more aware of all of this. Why do we say that? Well, what happened in March, the Parliament continued through a session where there was enough indications to suggest that maybe the lockdown should have come earlier. But having said that, what's happening right now in Rajasthan? You have MLAs holed up in a hotel of the Congress who is governing the state. The COVID numbers rising as we speak. Where does that leave the citizen? We leave it up to you. Thank you for joining us. Up next is my colleague Rahul Gandhi. Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.